Jay Replogle is the owner of Replogle Armory in Sparta. He is a blacksmith specializing in custom and specialty weaponry. His recent claim to fame is winning Season 3, Episode number 12 of Forged in Fire on the History Channel. We are pleased to welcome Jay to this table for the very first time. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
This is the first interview you've done since winning that show.
Yes, that's true. This is the first time I've done it.
We are glad to have you here to talk about that and so much more. First of all, for folks that have not seen the show, Forged in Fire, tell us about that.
Forged in Fire is a bladesmithing competition where they have 4 contestants, present them with a challenge, eliminate one, then they have a challenge for a next step, and then 2 of them go home to forge a huge weapon and then bring back, and then they declare a winner.
It was so, and we need to mention this real quick. You can see this episode right now on BLTV's On Demand. Just go to Free On Demand, look at the History Channel, find Forged in Fire, and it's the earliest episode that's on there right now. It was fun to be able to catch you before this interview and really watch that process happen. How did you get on the show?
Well, actually, it was almost a joke. I have a friend, we work together. He's an architectural blacksmith, makes railings and gates and things, and he says, hey, you should fill out this form I found on the internet to be on Forged in Fire. Mm-hmm. And so I did, and they sent me a questionnaire, filled it out, didn't hear anything back for probably 3 months. Wow. I probably filled it out in January of last year. And then slowly they started contacting me. I had to Skype with them, FaceTime, and phone calls, things of that nature, and before you know it, I'm on a plane heading to Brooklyn.
Yeah, believe it or not, if you've seen the show or if you're going to be watching it based off this interview, it's filmed in Brooklyn, New York. That probably was one of the most shocking things, I guess, that I noticed is that they're filming a show on forging and blacksmithing in Brooklyn, New York, of all places.
Yeah, yeah, it was a real experience being in Brooklyn. Just you're downtown, right in the middle of the city. And they just pull up to this generic looking building and you get out and there it is. There's the studio.
What, for folks that don't know, I mean, like we just mentioned, you won the show. Like we said, you can watch it on BLTV's On Demand on the History Channel. $10,000.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Tell us about that experience, because when you watch it, it's condensed into 45 minutes. What was that experience like? And just talking before we got on camera, lot more lengthened out than folks would maybe assume to film just that episode.
Oh yes. The whole filming process took place over about 12 days because there was 3 days at the Forge in Brooklyn doing the first challenges. They followed me home for 5 days at my home forge, and then to film the finale, we had to go back and film for 2 more days. Wow. And that doesn't include flying, getting up there and coming back. So, the whole thing was probably 14 days or so to get a 1-hour episode. So, wow. There's a lot of editing.
Yes, I'm sure. Now, you had talked about during certain points, we were actually watching this as a group before Jay got on, and we were talking about some of your reactions there on the show, and you said pretty nervous at times. I mean, you're competing against, at times, at the very start, 3 other individuals that are accomplished folks.
Yes.
And in a time, especially the first one, a time limit type situation, that had to be nerve-wracking.
Oh yes, it was extremely nerve-wracking because I had never made a friction folder before, which is what the first challenge entailed, was making a friction folder. And so the show is really more about how well you can think on your feet, how well you can adapt to different situations, because when they present you with the challenge, I mean, go. And you have to know the processes and have a plan in your head of what to do and how to succeed, There's been several really good bladesmiths on the show. Some of them even master bladesmiths that are used to working at their own pace and doing things a particular way. And when you're plucked from your home environment and thrown into this, extremely timed, rigid, foreign environment, not, you don't get to use your tools, your techniques, things that you're used to. It's all of it combined with cameras in your face, really produces a lot of stress.
Yes. And then, well, we should mention this, is that just in that first competition, or first part of the competition, giving you, 3 minutes to come up with a design, or 5? I mean, it was just minutes that you had to be able to come up with that knife design. And did you even know what you were going to be going into, what type of knife you were going to be doing before they announced it?
No.
So it's on the fly. This is what you're doing.
Yes.
Go draw it out.
Yes.
I thought that had to be very nerve-wracking, because how simple do I want to keep this? If I want to have some flair to it, that had to be going through your mind.
Oh yeah, and pretty much from the instant they told me what I was making, I was engineering in my head. I was thinking it through. Had to do this. Has to be like this. And what I wound up producing was a blade that was extremely simple, extremely streamlined, that I knew that I could make successfully within the time limit. Because I thought, if I get too fancy, if you try to do something that maybe you haven't done before, or try to take a chance, well, you could be out. So I kind of played it safe and did what I knew would work from the beginning.
So what folks will see near the end of the show is a two-handed sword. How do they pronounce what that sword is again?
It's called a Zweihander.
Okay, yeah. It starts with a Z. That's pretty much
German.
Yes, and it was a the best thing. That was a beast. It was just a piece of work there. Something out of, like, for gaming folks, something out of Elder Scrolls, something out of Skyrim. Very throwback, very menacing. I guess is the best way to put that.
Yes. That weapon, from its inception was designed for major damage. And, they thought, well, I mean, how can we do more damage? We'll make it bigger. It's just like, anything else, let's just make it bigger. And actually, the version that I made is smaller than historical versions. Most of those, the sword that I made was 5 feet, and most of those in history are 6 and 6.5 feet, like in that range. And so then you really got a big sword.
Right, yes. So we're going to be talking about more things with that. I'll say for the last time, if you've not had a chance to catch Jay on Forged in Fire, go to BLTV's free on demand, look at the History Channel, the show's on there. We'll keep it at that. It's very, very good. You did a great job. So let's kind of start. Now, we've kind of talked about the most recent stuff. Let's start at the beginning. How did you get involved in blacksmithing?
Well, it starts, it's a long story, but it starts, me and my brother, we're kids. We love knights, dragons.
Yeah, who doesn't?
This is when we played video games and we love this kind of fantasy world. And my dad, took my brother and I hunting and fishing. And so swords and knives were always part of my life growing up, either through hunting and fishing or, my brother and I fighting with sticks in the backyard, being knights and, in an imaginary sense. And so, I was always interested in that kind of thing. And so my aunt and uncle always took me on a vacation every year, my brother and I, and we only went to historical sites. We only went to Civil War battlefields and national monuments and national parks and things. And so I would come across blacksmiths every summer because there was always a pioneer village or always someone set up doing some demonstrations at Civil War events and reenactments. And so I just became, obsessed with blacksmiths and metalworking and just thought that was just the neatest thing. I remember watching a guy make nails for about an hour when I was a kid, just fascinated, probably the most mundane thing a blacksmith can do. And I just stood there mesmerized. And so as I got older, I attended Tennessee Tech University, and I've always been really interested in history and things of that nature, and art. And so I met a guy at Tech who said, come on over to the Craft Center. He said, they do all kinds of stuff like that. And so I went over there and checked it out, and enrolled at the Craft Center through Tennessee Tech and started blacksmithing and metalsmithing, and graduated from there with my BFA in metalsmithing, my Bachelor's of Fine Art degree in metalsmithing, and worked on knives and swords and all kinds of stuff there. And then once I graduated, I worked part-time as a bladesmith, you know, doing odds and ends blacksmithing work for different people. And here in about the past year, I've been doing bladesmithing full-time. So it's kind of been a long evolution of change and growing until what it's become today.
You can get a little bit more information about Jay and Replogle Armory online about the website. And so you can be able to check out more of him and be able to find out a little bit more about what all's involved in that. Speaking of being involved, I'm sure that different types of weapons have different types of processes maybe, but there's got to be maybe some basics there that you go through in the process of making a weapon. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I always say start at the end when you're talking about a weapon. What is it supposed to do? And by determining what it's supposed to do, it's like say we were making a chopping axe to chop wood. Well, the end result is to split wood. Wood is very hard, it's tough, so you have to choose a metal that's tough, and you have to start at the end and come back to make the blade. It's the same thing, you know, with like a kitchen knife. A kitchen knife is going to cut tomatoes. It's not going to chop wood. So you go back, you choose a metal, you choose the processes that you're going to use to make a kitchen knife. And especially with large weapons, like the ones I made on Forged in Fire, there's a lot of historical and archaeological evidence that you have to look at. Because how else are you going to know how to make a sword that's 1,000 years old?
Right.
Well, you have to look at what's there. You have to look at the evidence, and you know, studying metalsmithing and studying bladesmithing and blacksmithing, you know, I'm able to see what techniques they had used and what techniques they used to do certain applications, you know, in the blades and the handles, and you know, it's almost like bringing the past alive. And so it's kind of complicated, you know, when you really get down to it, because everything is so different. But that's usually where I start. I start at the end. I start with the history and the archaeology. You know, I find websites that talk about dimensions and weights and, you know, what it was used for, and then I can start my process of design and start building.
Walk us through this. Couple of knives here.
Yeah. One of my favorite knives to make is a Bowie knife. And because, you know, so many of the knives that we make or see are from
Back up.
are from European descent, you know, this is something American. You know, when you see a Bowie knife, you know, it's a Western style, and it's purely American, you know. And so this is one that I made. It has a 12-inch blade and is approximately 2 inches wide. It features a zebra wood handle with blued steel guard.
How much time is involved in that knife?
There's probably about 25 hours worth of work in this. This blade is all hand forged. With this particular blade, I started with a 1-inch square bar and forged it out to the shape.
I noticed on your website you were talking about handcrafted all of your blades. I think on the website that you said when you go into this process, handcrafted.
Yes. Yeah, I make everything from the
Might
sheets.
want to show that as well.
From the sheets to this is called a sash button, and traditionally a man about town would wear a sash around his waist, over his belt. And so what this does is this catches the sash. And so there's no belt loop on the back because you would just stick this through your sash. So, yeah, I do all the leather work, all the wood.
That is impressive, and you've brought one more with you as well. Tell us about this second weapon that you brought with us, brought to us.
This is another bowie style. I call it a gentleman's bowie. It's long and thin and fairly lightweight compared to that one. It also has features a sash button. This blade is actually from the end, a cutoff from the end of the sword I made in Forged in Fire, this blade. So I took that scrap piece and forged this blade out of it. This one features African ebony handle with nickel and bone spacer. The guard is made from wrought iron that comes from a wagon wheel rim. So this is, the metal used in that is probably, 120 years old or so. And then again, the leather work. This is water buffalo horn that I carved to make the sash button.
We talked about this for folks that are curious. If Jay got to keep any of the weapons that he made on Forged in Fire, he didn't. That stays with the show. So the closest thing that you have of a memento to that show would be this knife right here.
Yes, exactly. This, as I forged out the blade for the sword on Forged in Fire, I had a little bit left over and cut that off, and so this is the cutoff piece.
Good deal. Wow, just really impressive work here, Jay. It was so fun to be able to watch your episode and to see your work on that show. Like we said, if you would like more information about the job that Jay and his Armory does, you can go online, Replogle Armory. They're based out of Sparta. He's a Smith County native, but he's been living in Sparta how long now?
Oh gosh, since 2008.
Yeah, so they're starting to claim him, especially now, probably after this show, over in White County. But yeah, if you would like to know more information about any of this, reach out to Jay. I'm sure you'd love to talk to anybody about hooking them up with some very fine, handcrafted weaponry. Jay Replogle, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, so coming up in just a bit on Table Talk, it's not preaching to the choir, but Karen will be talking to the choir here on Table Talk right after this.